really quickly.
Okay.
All right. What's going on, YouTube? We're going to get our text set up real quick here, publish into Facebook. And I'm going to change the name of this. All right. Okay, perfect. All right, Samantha, you can post that on your page.
Okay, I'm almost
and then
there.
you can take it away. This is your video. I'm just playing in your world right now.
Okay, we're almost there. 1 second. Post.
What's going on, Mike? What's going on, Brian?
Okay, so.
Hey, Mom, what's going on?
Is your mom on?
Yeah, she's on Zoom.
Hi, Mom.
So we are live on YouTube, we are live on Zoom, and we are live on Facebook, broadcasting everywhere to talk to you guys about the power that language has for you to create your life and heal from past traumas or frustrations or even sicknesses. And yeah, I'm super excited to speak with Samantha about this today.
Yay. Hi, everyone. Some of you may not know who I am, but I've been doing energy healing for over 12 years. And one of my visions is really to be able to share incredible people like Spencer. I don't know if you can see Spencer right now. But anyway, so I've been really wanting to, gather all of like the most powerful, potent energy and resources and be able to like provide a platform where everybody gets exposure to understand themselves on a deeper level so that we can all be like really soul vibed and just live like a more engaged, active life. And so when Spencer introduced to me precise language, I was like, wow, he really took it to the next level. And I always said, when your words are painting pictures in people's minds, and he just has a way of really helping you to like understand how to craft language that's going to be way more empowering and way more aligned with like your soul vision. And sorry if I'm kind of stopping because I'm seeing myself in multiple different. This is my first time doing this, so so I think I'm not going to be able to see people on Facebook Live. Is that fine, Spencer?
You can just you can click your screen so you're seeing Facebook Live, and then you'll be able to see the comments and stuff like that. So if you don't want to be on Zoom, that's totally fine.
Okay, great.
but there will be a delay, so that might be an issue. Yo, Ryan Bella, what's going on?
Yeah, because otherwise I was like hearing double. So okay, I think I'm just
then I would like minimize the Facebook. I would minimize the Facebook Live, and we can address questions afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, guys.
Or I could take a look at the questions because I've got multiple screens here.
Okay,
so I'm looking this way, guys. I'm actually looking at Samantha. My camera's this way.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, yay. So I think people are probably most interested to start with, like, how will precise language change their life? And what are like simple little things that people can do to just transform their language so that they can get the results that they actually want?
Yeah, so I mean, language is the thing that separates us from the animals and connects us to our, to a higher power. It connects us to our imagination. It connects us to the world of possibility, and that's what has allowed the human race to accelerate its progress faster than any other creature. And so the power of language is it's the foundational tool as humans that we use in order to create our realities. And so it's a double-edged sword. We can use language to create amazing things like deep connections and living in our purpose, and I mean everything from making food to building buildings, right? But language also has the ability to create self-sabotage, to create suffering, to create like perpetual pain that other creatures don't get to experience. And so when you learn how to use your words the right way, it really cuts through all the bullshit and all of the confusion and frustration and anger and avoidance when we're trying to create like our story, the narrative of our lives that we leave for other people to build upon. And so when you use your language in a way that's more precise, we actually kind of we collapse time, really, because when it's really difficult to envision what it is that you want and connect with that in language, we're kind of like we're kind of blind going through the world trying to get the things that make us happy and that help us connect with others.
Yeah. So yeah, from an energy perspective, like I feel like your words it's the way that you can express your energy field out. So it's all of your chakras being fully aligned, which creates a spark of energy in your field, which creates an emotion. And that emotion is what gets things moving into the physical world. And I know when we were talking about this previously, we also talked about the universe doesn't really have good, bad, positive, negative. It's really just, what are you calling to your space? And so we call that through word, and our words are that energy field that sends that signal out and calls that into physical form. Right.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Samantha.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What was the second part of your question?
Yeah. So how do you feel that by using precise language, because we're going to get into the depths of what precise language actually is, right? Because this is a unique modality that you've created, right? So I want to know, how is it going to change people's lives? Like, how is using this tool going to transform the results that they get?
Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a step back to kind of explain how creation works. Anything that we have ever created in the history of anything follows a process, and then through that, I'll kind of explain how. I'm sure that you're familiar with the secrets and what's that called, the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is a very real thing, but they missed a giant part of it out of there. So I'll start with the creation process. Creation starts with a feeling inside, a dissatisfaction, immediately turned into a desire. Okay. And then that desire is turned into an image that is then articulated to our mind, like our thinking brain, and then turned into action so we can go get that thing. But if you can't articulate what it is in your brain, it becomes almost impossible for you to execute the actions that are required in order for you to have the thing that you want. So, for instance, Samantha, if I were to say to you, hey, Samantha, can you go get me a cucumber out of the fridge? Okay. Now, if we're at your house, you would know exactly what that looks like. You know what your fridge looks like. You know what a cucumber looks like. But if we were at my house, it might take you a little bit longer, because you'd be like, okay, where's the kitchen? And I'd be like, oh, it's down the hallway. And once you went down the hallway, you know what a fridge looks like. You know what a cucumber looks like, right? You can open up the fridge and look for it. But let's say that we have someone from the Amazon rainforest that has never seen electricity before, and I say to them, hey, go to the fridge and get me a cucumber. They don't know what a fridge is. They might not know what a cucumber is. So the time that it would take them to accomplish that task, to get that thing that I wanted, when they don't have an image in their head of what it looks like, it would take them much, much longer, because there's no image for fridge and there's no image for cucumber. So if I were to ask Samantha to do it, you'd probably be able to get that for me in 10 or 15 seconds. Someone who has no idea what a fridge is or what a cucumber is, they might go to the cupboard and grab out some coffee and be like, is this a cucumber? And like, no. Then they have to go back and they come back, is this a cucumber? And it might take them 10, 12 iterations. That would make them tired. It would make them frustrated. They'd be confused. And they may or may not end up getting that thing that I wanted. And so the same thing happens with us when we're trying to get out of our misery and into our desires so we can live the life that we want and have the things that we want. We need clear images. And what we tend to do is we tend to use void words that create shadows in our vision that make us feel like we're creating images, but we're creating the wrong images. So for instance, Here's the example that I give everybody. If I'm to tell you, if I'm like, hey, Samantha, can you go find my keys? Right? And you're like, all right, where are they at, Spence? And I'm like, okay, they're not in the kitchen. They're not in the living room. They're not in the bathroom. They're not in the guest room. You're like, okay, I guess they're in his bedroom, right? I'm like, okay, you're in the bedroom. I'm like, all right, they're not on my bed. They're not on my desk. They're not in my drawer. They're not in the bathroom. They're not in my, and you're like, Spence, come on, tell me where they're at. I'm like, I am telling you. I've been talking to you for 5 minutes. You're like, but I don't know where they are. And if I were to ask you at this point to close your eyes and try to see where my keys are, like, what does that image look like for you? It would be very blank. And it's because I'm using the word not. Okay. So if I'm going to say, hey, Samantha, where are my keys? I'm like, hey, they're somewhere. Okay. So basically you need to choose between infinity to try to figure out this one thing that I want. Not very efficient. And if I say, Samantha, they're not in the kitchen. Well, that's infinity -1. That's not much of a help either. So we use these words like not. And what it does is basically, as our mind is trying to pinpoint what it is that we want, we're trying to fractal down into that specific moment. So when we use a word like not, and again, a good example is I've got something written on my hand. It's something. Again, it could be infinity. The word is not pencil. Okay, infinity minus pencil, that's not much of a help. So as we're trying to create these images, those words basically are just us running on a treadmill. We're talking, but we're not saying anything. Is this making sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love when you use that because I feel like a lot of relationships could really be so enhanced by this. And it seems so basic, but really, oftentimes we're not clearly asking for what we want, or we might be using very vague words so that the other person isn't very clear about, well, what is it that we actually need to help us feel that love and fulfillment? And it's the same thing with the universe. We're telling the universe kind of like these very vague things of, I kind of want this, kind of this, and
Right.
and without even realizing that maybe our intentions, the things that we're telling the universe that we want, if people do vision boards and all those things, have actually not been very precise at all.
Right. Exactly. And we'll get into the relationship thing next. What would be a good way to do that? Well, let's remove the word not. Okay. And just speak of what is. And this is why I call this the language of God, because it speaks about what is, the I am. Okay. And so where are my keys? They're in my house, down the hallway in my room, on my windowsill on the right-hand side. There's a silver jar. It's underneath the change there. The keychain is orange. Now, if you were to close your eyes and take a look, I mean, you've never been at my house, but you can vision what that looks like, and then go effectively get the thing or do the thing to get the thing. And now you've officially now accomplished that task to get the thing that you want. So we start by speaking about what is, and we start wide, okay, vaguely. It's in the house, in my room, on the windowsill, in the corner, in the jar, underneath the change, right? And so now we've speaking clearly, speaking what is, and then fractal down into precisely what it is that we want. And so when we use language like this, we're able to speak directly to our higher consciousness and into ourselves, and be able to communicate with our desires, and be able to create a very clear directive as to what it is that needs to take place in order for us to create the life that we want. And whether that's creating something new, which we call conscious creation, or it's repairing something that was broken in the past, which we call healing. Both are forms of creation, just from a different angle. So so when you talk about it being in a relationship and how this works, when you're in an argument with a friend or a partner or a coworker or whatever, you might be getting disrespected and say, "Don't talk to me that way." Well, again, that don't is avoid. Do not talk to me that way. And the thing is like, the way that you're speaking right now is what's causing the pain, but it's not the solution to feeling fulfilled and happy in the relationship. So when we clarify that language, it's don't talk to me that way. Well, don't is avoid. So how would you like to be spoken to? Right. So instead of saying, don't talk to me that way, be like, I would appreciate it if you would speak to me in a calmer tone. I would appreciate it if you would use loving words. And then you can start fractaling from there. Well, what does loving words mean to you? Okay, now we can start having a conversation and making progress. But these voids create loops in conversations. And I'm sure you've been there before where you're having a conversation and like you're like, shit, we are right back where we started, you know? And every time you get back to that place that you started, it just becomes more and more heavy. And that creates just a lot of tension.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it is, as I'm hearing it over, I've heard you talk about this several times. And I think what it is it creates efficiency.
Mm.
And the more and more that we begin to practice speaking in this way, we start to create more efficiency. And I think even, slang sometimes happens so that people have something that where they can relate to faster. So that creates some level of efficiency, but then also some level of chaos or delusion because you're saying one thing and another person may not fully understand what you're talking about. And I'm just using slang, but any type of filler words, right?
Right.
And I think that is actually the loop cycle, the illusion cycle that a lot of us get stuck in because we think we're asking for this thing, but we're actually not being very clear, and we're not being clear to ourselves. And I think some people are afraid of fully asking for what they really, really want. So that's the emotions and the energetics behind it. But also, I think it's because we've just been trained to have so many filler words and to have so many voids because we didn't realize we're actually creating with our words and the pictures that we're painting with our minds.
Right. And it's interesting too, like the brain gravitates towards the images that it sees. So you've heard of the example of like when I say don't think of a pink monkey, the first thing in your brain is a pink monkey.
Right.
So like when you say don't speak to me that way, the first thing that pops up in everyone's head is the evil way you're speaking. And
yeah.
so if
and
you
what I
want
to add to that is like we're constantly creating. No matter what, we're constantly creating. And so that means any words that we're saying, pictures that we're painting, it's like that's what we're calling into our sphere, our consciousness, right? So I just wanted to emphasize that. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and it goes into I know you've got a program called Money Codes. So and the work that Samantha does on the Money Codes is amazing. Me and her have done work on it, and my business has flourished from the work that we've done together. And which is one of the reasons I was super excited to do this with you, because some of the nuances of like manifesting things in your life really has to do with the precision of your language. So like, we talk about like the law of attraction, like state what you want to the universe. Like everything that you're saying is a communication to the universe that's conspiring to give you the things that you're calling in. So there's a difference between what you want and what you're calling in. Your language is the tool that you use to communicate the desire to call in those things. So if you're struggling financially and you say, I just don't want to be broke. Well, don't avoid. So what do you want to be? Well, I want more money. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. But so now you're speaking clearly, but you're not speaking precisely. Because if you say to the universe, I tell my clients this all the time, I'm like, speak to me like a magic genie. So, and tell me what you want. And then they're like, oh, okay. So, all right, I want more money. I'm like, super, here we go. I flip them a quarter and there you go. Your wish is my command. You now have more money. You're like, that's not what I meant. Not to avoid. So what did you mean? Well, so how much money do you want? Well, I want $100,000. Well, in what time frame? $100,000 a year. Okay. Now you're starting to give a better directive to the universe so it can work together with you to create that specific thing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know that my financial goal for this year was $12 million. And to even say, I've always just been saying, I want to make 12 million a year, but I didn't say I want to make 12 million this year,
Right.
And so it's like, and then I feel the energy shift in that I'm calling in, I want to make $12 million this year, and then that's just like it. And that's the thing. It's just these fine little tiny tuning forks, I would call it, like how are you harmonizing what you're putting out into the universe? Because our language we're using every day, right? And so it's like, what pictures are we painting into the minds of everyone's third eye? What energy are we projecting out? Because everyone is kind of like a broadcaster for your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so if you're complaining, if you're blaming, if you're talking about things that you don't want, people are projecting that energy back at you. And that's the field that you're playing in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and the element of emotion plays a large role in this as well.
Huge. Yeah.
So when there's two ethereal forces. There's one force, your angels as I call them, that are conspiring to provide you joy, right? Like that
Right.
that's what they live for. And then you've got your monsters or your demons, the devil, whatever. And they're there to provide pain. And so when you are speaking clearly when you're speaking vaguely to the universe, and I talk about like the shadows in your language. So it creates like this vague shadow for your monsters to hide, all of your insecurities, your past wounds, for those monsters to interject into your consciousness and into your creations to perpetuate pain. So like, you say, I want more money. And then, you find a quarter on the ground and you're still angry. Well, it's like the universe just gave you what you wanted, but your monsters are feeding on your pain because you're still suffering.
Right.
And so this is probably a little bit of a deeper conversation, but like when you speak, when you're attempting to call into the universe what it is that you want, you can tell where all of your monsters and your traumas are hiding by the way that you're using your language. The harder it is to speak clear, the deeper those monsters are, and then we can kind of like dig deeper into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I use a little bit of a different language. I use organized energy and disorganized energy. And I feel that, what you call the demons are always trying to distract you from keeping your energy field organized and harmonious. And the layers of suffering that happens from that are so subtle because I know there are a lot of people that are suffering, but they're not fully aware that they're suffering. It's just kind of this like undertone that's happening, and their voice is kind of small, and like they know inside they have some brilliance, but they can't fully express it out. And I feel like that's part of why I'm super excited to share you and precise language, because I feel like precise language is almost like a key that starts to unlock and awaken these parts of you that have been closed off, dormant. You haven't had access to that. And we all have access to our language, which means we all can reprogram ourselves. And I think that's huge, for the collective.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, language, when you understand language on a super precise level, like language is the operating system that humans have been gifted in order for them to create. So when there are viruses in your operating system, all of the applications don't work as clean. So when you clean up your language, when you're using the law of attraction, or you're using BodyTalk, or you're doing energy work, or human design, or whatever like healing or creation modality that you're using, your language, the precision of your language underpins all of that stuff. So once you learn how to speak precisely, all of those other modalities, whether they're healing modalities, or you're a project manager, or you're a relationship coach, or you're just trying to apply these things to your life, all of it becomes much more clear. So you can cut out the bullshit, stop the treadmill of suffering, and cut right to the point, and constantly be making progress. Because it takes some time to figure life out. Like that's the joy of life, right? And pain plays an important role in that. Pain is merely just a signal to your consciousness that you need to make an adjustment. And so even in a perfect world, we will experience pain, but we are designed to experience pain for a wrong turn just once. And once you pay that price more than once, pain turns into suffering. And that
Yeah.
is not necessary in the human experience. And suffering lowers our vibration, it sucks out our life force, and it takes away the most precious thing that we have, which is time. And so when you speak precisely, it cuts through that. And that's why I talk about collapsing timelines. An argument that may go 3 hours now can be 10 minutes. And now you've got 2 hours and 50 minutes to be back in harmony with the person that you're communicating with to go create something awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel that most of these modalities are really just teaching us how to be better co-creators. Like, how can we be more powerful creators in our lives, in our reality? And I might just be speaking for myself or just women that I've known, but I often find that women have had a hard time just asking for what they actually want, you know, even though they kind of know it, but they almost hold back a little bit. And I am hoping that this like video right here is like, hey, we have to say exactly what we want, because otherwise we're creating that loop cycle, and that cycle can go on for years for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready for the language, for the question of what is precise language.
So, I mean, the precise language is a way of communicating with your inner self, with your higher self, and with others in a way that is direct and efficient, so you can create in the shortest amount of time possible, and with a complete, with complete clarity. And so the way to do it, I'll give you kind of a short version of it. It's 3 simple steps. Speak up. Because if you don't use your words, then you're basically just an animal and you're a victim. Because a victim is someone who is a mode of that humans have, where the external world imposes on you and creates your internal world. And then when you switch from victim mode to creator world, your internal world affects the external world. So if you don't speak up, there's no way you can affect the external world. And speaking up can be done in journaling. It could be done in writing a letter. It could be done in speaking. It's just the use of the words. Step 2 is to speak clearly. And this is the part where I call it the language of God, because you're speaking in the I am. And so there are some universal truths in the simulation that we live as human beings that are unarguable. And so when you speak violating these truths, that's what qualifies a void. And the 3 rules are: everything is something and somewhere. Okay. So when someone says, where are my keys? Well, like, I don't know. They're lost. Well, lost is a void, because they are somewhere in the universe. Those keys are somewhere. So let's explore that, Or someone like, what did you do today? Nothing. You did. You woke up today, right? Were you in bed? Yeah. What side of the bed? Okay, cool. What did you do next? Make coffee, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth. And so it's like, oh, I brushed my teeth and then I made breakfast. Okay. So you didn't do nothing. You woke up, brushed your teeth, made breakfast. What else? And so you can see how this takes a loop of nothing and then just sitting and wallowing to progress in your creations. And then the final thing is, go ahead.
Oh, right. Just because like when someone asks you that, hey, what did you do in your day? When you respond with nothing, that creates a emotional and energetic stagnant. And so it's not really creating what they want, but that's the perfect opportunity for them to be like, whoa, my day was so kick-ass. I did this. And that's them broadcasting to the universe, so that the universe is like, oh, they really enjoyed that. Let me bring them more of that. Oops, your video.
Absolutely. My internet connection is unstable. Samantha, whenever we're doing our enlightening work, this always seems to happen, right?
It's part of the process. Yeah. And I just want all the listeners to know that it's not just the words that we're speaking here. There's a lot of energy happening here that's going to support them on their healing journey and their process, and getting them to really align with their spirit so that they can fully express what they want. And it's the intention field that me and Spencer have created here, and the vortex that's going to continue to happen, whether they're watching this live now or the recording. Right.
So the third rule is everything is true from some perspective. Okay. So, if I say unicorns are real, and you say, no, they're not. Well, not as a void. Well, where are unicorns real? Unicorns are real in your imagination. Your imagination is just as real as this cup here. It's just in a different realm. It's all vibrational. Your thoughts are vibrational on a higher level of vibration, but they have a wavelength, and they actually have an atomic weight. Quantum physics says everything is a particle and a wave, everything. And just the same, this cup is a particle, but it's also vibrating at a lower vibration that makes it dense. So everything is true from some perspective. So it's just a matter of which perspective you're speaking from. So in order to speak clearly, when you say something that violates these universal truths, that's what creates a void in your language. So when someone says, you're a jerk, right? And you say, well, that's not true. Not a void. I'm a jerk where now maybe I did nothing wrong, right? Maybe I was a sweetheart the entire time, but in their mind, in their emotions, I'm a jerk. So now we need to explore that. Well, what is it that you're feeling that makes you feel like I hurt you? And now we can continue to progress in this conversation. So, another one is like, I'm just dissatisfied with my life. Well, this is a void because you're satisfied on some level, right? You're alive. So let's start there, and we can start moving forward. And dissatisfaction turns into, so when you say I'm dissatisfied, that's an identity statement, and identity statements make you feel stuck. But if you were to clarify I'm dissatisfied and turn it into I would like to feel this, I would like to have this, now you're making a request from the universe as opposed to a complaint of I'm dissatisfied. Right. And complaints are heard, but no actions are taken. Requests, actions can be taken and moves can be made. So then the third part is just speaking more precise. When you're like, I want more money. Well, what does more money mean? That's vague. Let's fractal that down. Oh, I want $12 million. Awesome. When? Oh, wait, this year. Oh, okay. So then you start going and start actually building your plan to building your life.
Yeah. And so from a BodyTalk perspective, when people say those phrases, sometimes there's a lot of energy and emotion embedded with that. And so when they first say a phrase of something that they feel like they can never have, there might be a lot of charge lit up in their system that blocks them from actually creating that. But really, the more they continue with that language, each time they're saying it, they are almost creating this healing for themselves because they're telling themselves, these words are safe now. These words are safe now. And the charge that comes up every time they hear it, each time will get lighter and lighter. But it is about that consistency because they have to continue to use those words over a long period of time or get a BodyTalk session so we can clear it out faster. But either way, there has to be some tool to clean up those emotions and the baggage of energy around what the words mean to them as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
And so the next piece is, well, what is your mission, purpose, and vision with precise language? Like if you could bottle it up and really share it with the world, like what would that look like for you?
I compare language in the human mind to computers. And as we're getting closer and closer to the singularity, they're going to become one and the same. Human mind is a computer. It's just super, super sophisticated. And something that let's say Apple did with the computer that Microsoft and Linux and all that stuff didn't do is they simplified and made it really easy. Okay. And I want you to think about this. The iPhone is one of the most complex, tools, technological tools that we've ever seen, and it doesn't come with an instructional manual.
It's true.
Can you think about that? Like,
wow.
Think about computers like 10 years ago. Like anything that you got came with this long instructional manual that you had to read through and figure it out. I mean, the camera that I'm using right now, the instructional manual is like this thick. But when something is so simple and clear and well-defined, it no longer needs instructions in order for you to use it as a tool, in order for you to, call an Uber or to message a friend or to build a business or whatever that is. And so precise language is an upgraded operating system for the human mind, for all of the other applications to run clearer. So if you are someone who is deep into personal development and really has a mission for your life and a purpose, and you want to live that out and live a life that's integrated where everything you do serves everything that you want. That precise language is the operating system for that. So my mission is to not only help those who are passionate about improving themselves and enlightening themselves and getting in touch with themselves, everything from a cellular level to a body level to a social level and a a spiritual level and a conscious creator level. But also, I want to facilitate this to coaches and trainers and teachers and parents. Those are the people that are influencing others and spreading their message, because there's so many incredible people that are doing so many great things that to raise the vibration of the planet. And so my mission with Precise Language is to facilitate this to the influencers and those that desire higher consciousness, so they can have a better effect on the world. And in my practice of this, and in my conversations with God of like, what's the best way to scale healing and conscious creation and like the golden age that we're entering, it's to influence those that have massive influence on others.
Yeah, I love that. And, just like a fun vision I've always had is, instead of people maybe going to like a hospital, they would go to this like healing center where they would uninstall the old program and reinstall like a new way of being. And I feel like Precise Language is like a very huge key in that. And it's basically the software program in our mind. How do we uninstall the way that we've been communicating, operating all these years? There's always even going to be like secret habits where we're constantly saying this thing and we don't realize that we're saying. I know one for me, I always say sorry for, I don't know, it's been since I was really young. And my dad, one of the things he always was like, never say sorry, but it was so embedded in me, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but I think a lot of people have that in their speech pattern, and that may be holding them back from creating what they want. And so do you have any tools for them on how to transition from the old paradigm of language to this new paradigm?
Yeah, I mean, well, in terms of the I'm sorry, you may have heard this one before, like, I'm sorry, like, I didn't respect you and all that, and those are voids. When you're apologizing to someone, it's much more effective to say thank you for being patient with me.
Yeah.
Instead of like,
I love that, because actually,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I love that, because it was like, I just didn't have a replacement word for it. I didn't understand what the replacement would be for it. So that's beautiful. Yeah.
Right. And sorry is a void. So I mean, if we were to fractal it down, it would make sense. But like what you are truly saying is like, thank you. Thank you for still like engaging with me, even though that I did something that hurt you. Totally. And then you can start moving. Then it's like, okay, now you've closed that like energy leak between two people, and then you can start creating again. I'm so sorry. Instead of saying I'm sorry, but like, thank you so much for being patient with me. I was 15 minutes late, and if I was in your position, I would be frustrated too. So in the future, I'm going to be sure that I show up on time, so my actions reflect the actual respect that I have for you. Doesn't that feel so much better than just like, I'm sorry, so I'm late?
Yeah, that's so huge. But yeah, this is so great for all the listeners out there. I mean, I know Spencer has like a super sweet offer, just so that you can have a conversation with him. And I'm like, oh, I just shared that one little thing, and that's huge. Like, I feel like, at least right now, when I feel it, I feel like my whole energy field just opened up. Oh, I have an option of a different word to use, of something else to say.
Yeah.
But it's so small, but that creates the big ripple effect,
Yeah. And so that's an example of using Precise Language to heal, right? Whereas before we were talking about like, creating, because like if you're creating with a team and you're like, okay, I want you to build a website. Okay. But not one that's really busy, and not one that is the color purple, and not, so it's like, oh, I want a website. I want it to be 3 pages. And like, now you can start speaking in directives. Yes. So I do have, so I wanted to speak about like the offer that I give to people that are serious about like ending self-sabotage and becoming a more powerful creator. If you go to invincibleimmersion.com, you can go there and schedule a one-on-one conversation with me. And let's just talk about like what it is that you want in life. In Precise Language, there's 5 basic questions that perpetuate your progress so you can avoid loops. And it's simply like, what do you want? What are your next steps? What are the obstacles that are standing in your way? What are your distractions, or I call them like, what is your drug? What are the simple sugars and pleasures in life that you gravitate towards when you're not satisfied about getting the thing you really want, And then like, who do you have to be in order to like have this thing that you want. So if you're struggling with any of those questions, then yeah, let's have a conversation. But I did want to share with you, a tool that I use to help people rewire their brain, so they subconsciously behave in a way that gets them the thing that they want in their life.
Yeah, I
Is that
love
what you wanted me to share,
Yes.
Samantha?
I'm like, yes, we are ready for you to share this, Spencer.
Okay, dope. All right, so we can talk in terms of like building wealth. Okay, so when we speak, we're reflecting the beliefs in our heads, and we always okay behave in congruence to the beliefs that we have inside of us. Now, some of our beliefs are really, really deep down, okay, in our subconscious, and our subconscious has layers. You know how you can say something out loud, that's your consciousness, and then you can say something to yourself in your brain, and then you know how you can say something like underneath your breath in your brain, like to yourself. Well,
Yes.
that keeps going down in layers, right? And so I'll give you an example of someone like who's trying to lose weight. It's like, I want to be fit and healthy. Okay, that's a desire, and that's clear. But then late at night, they open up the freezer and they open up the ice cream and they eat it. So it's like, well, okay, you want to be healthy and fit, and you also love ice cream, and so these beliefs battle each other, and these beliefs are actually in sequential order, and these are what are called priorities. Okay, so if your desire for ice cream is larger than your desire or your belief, or it's more strong, it has a stronger charge than the belief of I want to be healthy, then you are going to behave this way. So how do we fix this? How do we install these beliefs so we start behaving in a way that serves us instead of holds us back? Okay. So the first one is to create an affirmation. Okay. Affirmation is literally the HTML codes in your brain that tell your body what to do. Okay. So you can, so a couple money beliefs that are healthy, and Samantha, feel free to add in some if, some powerful ones if they come up for you. One of them may be, I save money. I save money every day for my future. Okay, simple. I save money every day for my future. That's one code, right? Another one is, every day I open myself up for new opportunities to make more money. It's another good one. I might forget these, so if you could write these down, Samantha, I'll come up with them right now. And the third one is, I use the money I have to move me I use the money I have to serve my purpose. Okay, it's a little vague, but we'll go with it. So these few codes like that we say, one is around saving, one is about making more money, and one is about budgeting, right? Three main parts to like financial health. Okay, and if you're like in sales, the one to making more money might be like, every day I make offers to people to purchase my services or my product. Okay, so when you say these things like every day I save money for my future, when you say that, like say it out loud, and if you're listening right now, like say that out loud, and then think to yourself, on a scale of 1 to 5. Like, how congruent does that feel? And like a 5 would be like, as sure as you are of your own name, right? And 1 being like, oh shit, I've never saved $1 in my life, right? No judgment, just measure it, okay? Now that might feel like a 2 for you, you save a little bit of money and then you spend all the money, you save the money and then spend the money, okay? So it feels like a 2, right? And then you say your next affirmation, which is every day I look for new opportunities to bring in more money, and you rate that too, 1 to 5, and you do that for your last one as well. It's like I use my money wisely to perpetuate my purpose. Whatever I said, it's close to that, and you rate that too. So when it's a 5 out of 5, right? Samantha, if you were to say, my name is Samantha, that's a 5. Like, you don't have to remind yourself every day that your name is Samantha because you're so sure of it. It's in your subconscious. So when someone asks your name, you automatically, another good money belief is like, I love money. There you go. And so if you see $100, like everyone who says, I love money, like it's probably a 5 out of 5. Like who doesn't love money, right? And because you love money, if you see $100, if you're walking through an alley, you see $100 on the ground, you're not going to think to yourself, should I pick it up? Well, what if I bend down and the wind blows and it pulls it away? What if it's not actually $100 and it's only 50? Like, no, you're going to walk up, pick it up because you love money. So when it's a 5 out of 5, like your subconscious notices it and it takes action. So like, how do we make these a 5 out of 5? Okay, so there's three different things that imprint or upload these codes, these affirmations into your brain and into your subconscious. It's no different than installing something into a computer. So here are the 3 things. 1, repetition. Okay, so what we're doing is we're making neural pathways in our brain from an idea to an action that isn't quite there, or maybe a little bit, 2 out of 5, right? And so the more repetition that we have, let's kind of think about this like making a groove in dirt, right? To create a pathway for those neurons to fire, so you take that action. And the deeper it goes, the easier it is for those neurons to flow. Well, repetition is going to make it deeper, right? Next is the charge, the emotion that you feel when you are stating this, when you're stating this code. And that is representative of like the pressure that you push down when you're making that channel. So the harder you press, the harder it goes. And this is how post-traumatic stress syndrome works. Something very, very something with a very, very large charge happens one time and it's stuck in your head forever. That's like pressing down with like 1,000 pounds of force and creating that pathway. And it's so hard to overcome that. But we can leverage that concept in order to build new pathways and drive it into our subconscious. The third one is evidence, because once it's evident, then it's true. And there's no arguing. You could tell Bill Gates that he's a broke bitch, but trust me, it ain't gonna affect his self-esteem or his answers, because he's like, I got like 70 or 80 billion dollars in the bank. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, look at the scoreboard, honey, So evidence is the thing that basically pours the concrete in that neural pathway that eventually drops it into your subconscious. And just like any other concrete road, you don't need to constantly be, servicing it. Every once in a while, if it gets a little creaky, you go back, you visit it, you repair it. So when you state these affirmations or codes, you repeat them in the morning and you repeat them 5 to 10 times. And as you say it, like you want to feel it. Like every day I save money for my future. Every day I save money for my future. And then you start bringing context to it. Like when I get $10, I put one of it away for my future because I save money for my future. And so legit, do these in the mirror, do these on video and watch them, because that's going to help you imprint even better. Mm-hmm. So you do that with all of those codes, and you write them in your journal. Where's my journal's underneath my mic. So, and I even did this morning for my affirmations of how I want to behave in the world. Then here's where the magic happens. Now, you know how like, you buy a new yellow sweater and then all of a sudden you're seeing all these yellow sweaters everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that there are magically more yellow sweaters. It's that your brain, it has like cult consciousness to it. So now with those affirmations, you're looking for evidence anywhere. Okay, even little bits. Okay, so like let's say, you found $10 on the ground and you put it in your piggy bank to save it. Okay, at the end of the day, what you do is you visit those codes, those affirmations, and you write down the evidence that it's true. Now we tend to, as humans, we want these big, grandiose things to prove that we are who we say we are, but who we are is really just like a story of our habits. And so every little bit counts. So if you got a $10,000 client or a $10,000 bonus or raise, and you put half of that in savings, well shit, now it's becoming unarguable that you save your money for your future, right? You write that down. And I should say, even if it's 1 penny a day, that's evidence. that is evidence that you save money for your future. And so when you collect all of this evidence, you do this for 30 days, your shit's going to change. Because then there are, when you get the emotions like, oh man, I'm going to be broke forever. Really? Well, let's do a little evaluation. Let's check the record books here. Well, you saved $10 this day. You got a bonus last week and you saved half that money. And then you found a penny on the ground and you saved that. So like, who are you? Like, are you someone who saves money? And now your monsters have to address objective reality. And now you get to make a conscious choice. So this is the way that you stick in the disk, you run the upload, and then just as you stick in the disk. I'm 35, you can totally tell. So it's like discs. Jeez, Spencer. So it's like going into the App Store, pressing the button, watching it, load up, and then what's the first thing you do? You go to the app to check if it works. And so it's exactly that same process. Is like you write the code, you do the install by repeating it and bringing context and emotion to it, and then at the end of the day, you open up the app and you see if it works. Did I behave that way? And as you collect this evidence, your confidence builds. And at some point, after, let's take this to the extreme, after 1,000 days of taking 5 to 25 cents and putting it in a piggy bank, like it will eventually be built into your identity that you save money, right? And so it depends on like how strong your monsters are, pulling at your identity that you'll be broke forever, right? But this is something that guarantees you do this every day, and there's at least one piece of evidence, you are one step closer. And that's what progress is about. Creation is about making progress. And whether it's a millimeter or a mile, like it's always moving forward, due north towards that thing that you want. So you do this every day. It's only a matter of time before you become that, and that becomes a part of your identity and your habits.
I love that so much, because I feel like that is the biggest piece that's missing out of when people use affirmations, because, everybody talks about affirmations and we use affirmations, but I feel like you've really broken down the science of it so that people can, one, be motivated to use the affirmation, and two, have a measuring piece, because the left brain really needs some accountability. It needs to know like, hey, if you're going to say that, I need to know that that's true, right? And so I love that you're basically proving that new pathway until it becomes an actual neuro pathway. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Yay. Great. So let's see. Did we, so that was your congruence check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And do you have like a deeper program that people can work with you, or what are your offers right now?
So right now I'm actually doing 2 immersions. They're called the Invincible Immersion. And we use precise language in the Invincible Immersion as the operating system. And then also we go through other conscious creation modalities and healing modalities and amplify those through the way that we use our language to rid ourselves of, behaviors that don't serve us, so we can accomplish some type of audacious ambition that we have. And so for anyone that has, an ambition that seems audacious, that they've been desiring for a long time or avoiding for a long time, this immersion is for you. Now the immersion is a rather advanced version of what I do. So if you go to invincibleimmersion.com, you can schedule a call with me and we can have a conversation of where to start you out. So I also do one-on-one coaching with people to help you rewire the way that you function and get your compass pointed due north towards that thing that you want, so you can start making progress towards that. And here's the thing. If you don't know what it is that you want, but you know that there's something more, that existential crisis, once you become an adult and you're a functioning member of society, but you're like, how come I have all the things I was told that I needed to not be a loser, but I still don't feel like fulfilled? Like, Precise Language can help you find that as well. So I do one-on-one coaching and these like immersive retreats. I'm doing one on February 20th in Utah, which is going to be just insane. And I'm so excited for that one. And I mean, I'm excited for my one in Chicago as well on March 27th. So if you're interested in those, there's an application, a qualifying process for that. Because it is really deep. But go to invincibleimmersion.com and schedule a time for us to chat. Or you can even hit me up on Facebook. Like, Spencer Burnett is, find me on Facebook or find me on YouTube, and let's start a dialogue there. Like, this shit doesn't need to be formal. Like, this is about like connecting together and helping each other like move forward. So. And then finally, if you want to learn more about Precise Language, because it's like still a little foggy for you, you can go to my YouTube channel, Spencer Burnett, and go to the Precise Language podcast playlist. And in there, I've got, I think we're going to be posting this one on there as our 11th podcast episode. And you can see interviews that I have had with people that have had Precise Language have a massive impact on, the way that they go about doing life.
It's so awesome. And I just want to speak to, there's an investment with it, but I just want to talk about investments, and the energy of money. So we expend so many hours or time or, whatever, however that person has received that amount of money, and that becomes an energy field. And that energy field is a lot of root and second chakra. And when we take that financial investment and we invest in ourselves with a mentor, a coach, or a program, we're really telling the universe, hey, I'm really ready for this big transformation. And there is this energy flow that as you send it out and you tell the universe, hey, I want to spend this money, when your intent is super whole and clean and clear, very often new money will come in right away. I mean, I've seen that happen over and over when it's very aligned. And so, but it's just that courageous step of saying, universe, like, this is what I want now. And I see that as one of the like tests or the steps for a lot of people. Like, it tends to be a hurdle for some people, the finance piece, but really it's the easiest step. It's like, once you make the investment, it's the growth, it's the evolution, but it's like, you can't even put a price to that, honestly, because the level of like, just like perspective that you have on life, like how much more alive you feel, like you just can't put a price on those things, So
yeah, and both me and you are familiar with like big investments to raise us up to another level. Like, we're part of the same mastermind, and both of us invest heavily in our personal growth. And it's funny. I had a conversation with a woman on Facebook a couple of years ago. And she's like, oh, so you're a coach. She's like, can you help me with my addiction to Facebook? And I was like, yeah, sure. Tell me about it. She was telling me how it was like distracting her from work and like, connecting with her family and her friends. And it got to be too much. And, I'm like, well, what would your life look like if you were present with your friends, your family, and your work? How much more money would you make? How much more connected to your family would you be? She's like, God, that would be so nice. And I was like, okay, well, it's going to be $5,000. And I'm like, and I promise you, like, it's going to work. And she's like, oh, that's a lot of money. And I said, if I could guarantee 100% that our coaching would work, would it be worth it? And she's like, absolutely. And I said, but if it doesn't work, would it be the biggest waste of money in your life? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's what you're afraid of, right? That you're going to waste your money. Okay. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so I can guarantee that. So hand me $5,000. Okay. She does. And I'm like, okay, don't go on Facebook again. Coaching done. What? And I was like, here's the thing. If you don't go on Facebook again, this was the best investment you ever made. If you do, this was the biggest waste of money that you ever had. And it's like, and do you think just with this one thing, do you think you're going to go on Facebook again? I might. Now it's 10 G's. Did you go on Facebook again? Like, how much money do you want to waste? You know what I mean? And so I give that example and that's a theoretical example. I didn't charge someone $5,000 and just tell them that. But that's an example of like how money plays a role in your motivation, because when you commit to something, like when you commit to, a higher version of yourself, whether it's working with a coach, or it's investing in a business, or it's going back to school, there is this chasm between the moment that you drop the money and your first breakthrough, where you're thinking, shit, all that has happened here is I'm out a lot of money and nothing has changed. Okay. Now that point between when you spent the money and that first breakthrough, it might be a day, it might be a month, but you feel it. And I remember when I enrolled into the mastermind that we were a part of, and I paid the enrollment, and I literally had $3.20 in my bank account, and I had a flight home, and that was it. And that feeling where I was just like, oh shit, like if I don't do something, like I just made the biggest mistake of my life. And I know my mom's on this call here, and I remember talking to her about that, being like, oh, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And I'm like, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I went home. And that next week, like I consulted with my coach, and I was like, hey, here's the opportunities that I have, to enroll some clients into my program. And I made 17 grand that week. Now, what would the likelihood have been relative to that experience if I was like, hey, can you just like enroll me into this, and then when I make some money, I'll pay you as I go along? Like the urgency in the charge, the emotional charge of like, no, I'm taking a stand for what I want in my life, and I want to be on this higher level. I want to reach more people. Like this is what God put me on this planet to do. Like, when you create urgency like that, it creates power, and it creates leverage. And I'll tell you this: resistance is a bitch. And so not only do you need accountability from a coach to make sure you show up, not only do you need a good, effective plan that pulls up all your shit as you're going through it, but you also need that financial investment, whatever it is that you can do to leverage your emotions, to make sure that you step into that version of yourself that you desire so bad, but you've resisted for so long. You need to leverage it as much as you can. So that's why paying paying money and paying your time and paying your attention and paying your efforts they're all the same tool from a different modality that are perpetuating this breakthrough.
Yeah, they've actually had some studies where people heal faster when they pay for their healing rather than using insurance and things like that. And the thing is, like, money is very sacred, and it's very root chakra, second chakra, which means it's your safety security programs, it's your creativity, your freedom, and so when you invest on that level, it breaks up so many of your ancestral patterns. It's like it has to. And I just felt like I wanted to address that a little bit for anyone that's like ready to invest in it. And usually when you are ready to find your coach, there is like this spark of feeling of like, that's my coach, that's the person that I want to work with. And, and to like listen to that big yes in their energy field too, to see if a program is aligned with them. Like, I think that's a really cool tool to have as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay. And we're at 12:30, so I didn't get to go through my BodyTalk portion, but I think that
we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again, and I think it's perfect. I kind of had this in mind anyway, so because I felt like precise language really needs a lot of thorough explanation, and I think you did such an incredible job. And I'm so excited for more and more people to really have access to this tool, because our words, we have those, we get to use those. That's free, that's for us, and like I said, maybe mentorship and some training is going to fine tune it, but then again, that's a tool that you get to keep with you for the rest of your life, and that's just huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you going to San Diego next week, Samantha?
I'm not sure yet, but I'll talk to you about it afterwards.
Okay, so what I was thinking is maybe next week or the week after that, let's do this like exact same thing again, and let me ask you questions about BodyTalk, because it is I've experienced a lot of different healing modalities and creation modalities, and the body talk sessions that you do. It's the precision, the power, and the different angles that you hit someone's consciousness at is unlike anything I've ever seen, heard of, or experienced before in my life. And I know that I've brought my mom to you. I brought my girlfriend to you. I've come to you, and it's like the people that are nearest and dearest to me. You are one of the first people that I bring them to, for them to get in line so their life can turn out the way that they want it to. So let's absolutely do this in the next week or two.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's such an honor to get to work with your family in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I love this work, and I really just love that we're at this ascension point where there's so many tools that are available for people. And so if you're a coach out there, like if you're a coach, a healer, a visionary, a mom, a leader, a dad, a dreamer somewhere, and you're impacting your community, like please, like, break it down, use these tools, get what you need, get the resources that you need, the wealth, the tools, the knowledge, and like, let's get your vision out in the world. Like, it's time for everyone's soul gifts to be like out there. And yeah. And so thank you so much for listening, everybody. And I'm sure we're going to do this again in the next couple weeks.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this and inviting me to this, Samantha. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Spencer. You're the best. And again, how do people work with you?
Go to invincibleimmersion.com or just message me on Facebook. Say what's up. We'll start a conversation. A clear and precise conversation.
Clear and precise.
Right,
you heard it here at Soul Stories. No, hey, everybody. All right, have a good day, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. Ciao.